coalition leaders agreed late last night to end the moratorium on evictions. That's going to be the 31st of March. That has been in place since just October.
Joining us in studio to discuss this is Green Party TD Neasa Hourigan, and Landlord Richard Quarry is on Skype with us. Good morning to you, Richard, as well.
Morning.
Neasa, let's start with yourself. It looks like late night talks means that the ban is going to be lifted, but you were very vocal against this. Why did you feel that you had to be so vocal on this change?
I mean, a huge part of it is that I'm a Dublin Central TD, and you know, the services around homelessness in my area and the level of homelessness in my area is unprecedented. It's huge. My kids go to school with other kids in their class who are homeless, and I very much feel that this will result in a jump in homelessness figures that not only will, you know, put people out of their homes, but will also, you know, put services at breaking point. I will, in a month, have people in my constituency clinic who have been asked through no fault of their own. This is no fault evictions. This is not people who are not paying their rent. This is not people who are engaged in antisocial behaviour. I will have people in my constituency saying, I have been asked to leave my home. My kids are going to have to leave school. These are 5, 6, 7-year-olds who are going to have to leave school and move to another area. I don't know where those people are going to go. I don't think those hotel rooms are there for them. I don't think there's B&Bs there for them. I think that this will result in people in my constituency not having a roof over their head, children not having a roof over their head.
Homeless figures during the eviction ban, they did increase. We've got the highest homeless figures that we have ever had in this state. Over 11,500 people are now homeless. So people will be like, well, it didn't work anyway. Why are these people getting evicted? Like, how are they allowed no-fault evictions? We're meant to have rent pressure zones. We're meant to have this eviction ban. What's going on? Who's taking up all these homes?
Well, we don't have enough homes. I suppose that's the first thing to say. And the eviction ban was never a forever proposal, and it can't be because of our constitution. People have property rights, and that's fair enough. And certainly I wasn't suggesting that we make the ban permanent. What I was suggesting, though, that we should look at the eviction ban almost like first aid to a patient. We're in a crisis. I'm in a crisis in my constituency. It's first aid, and while we take another few months, let's do the kind of the radical surgery that we need to do to make this make sense. So things that we could do, for example, is to take away sale as a reason for eviction. So in Ireland, the absolute standard is that you evict people and then you put your house for sale. The market's high right now. A lot of landlords do want to leave the market. They could sell to the local council and keep people in place, but also there's no reason to evict people. In other EU countries, they don't do that, and it's not the end of the world. That's not the standard. We could remove that as a reason, and that would actually keep a lot of people in place. But from what I can see of the debate, and obviously I have no extra information than anybody else. It's the same as I'm learning it on Twitter, but it seems like they discussed a €14,000 tax rebate to landlords, or some kind of a tax arrangement for landlords, and very, very little else. That's not going to help people in Dublin Central. That's not going to stop those children having to leave school or move or take those roofs and put them back on people, you know, give people homes.
Yeah, listen, absolutely, and we know this is an issue. And sorry, can I just clarify? So this is just lifted once the cabinet have decided this. It's not up to a vote process or anything else. It's just they've made a decision. That's it.
Yes, exactly. And just to say, it's not really the cabinet, because it's the 3 leaders who make this decision, and the cabinet kind of seals the deal. You know, they kind of rubber stamp it. You can see how frustrated I am by this process.
Because you're a coalition member.
I am a coalition member, and I'm
incredibly... So are you sitting there shouting at Leo Varadkar going, what the hell are you doing?
I'm incredibly frustrated. I don't think any single person, those 3 men in that room, thought about me sitting in a constituency clinic and having to talk to a mammy who has no roof to put over the head of their child, and I am incredibly frustrated by it. And I don't think that this decision reflects Green Party values. And I have to say, I don't think anybody in that room, and I'm including my own Minister Ryan in this, was speaking up for those families in that room.
Yeah, I can imagine, though, from a landlord's point of view, and we bring Richard in on this. I mean, Richard, I'm sure as a landlord, for you, it feels like the government, like they're passing the buck onto the landlords in this, instead of maybe trying to fix this homeless crisis in other ways. For you, you have been a landlord for 10 years now. You have 2 properties that you've kept empty. Why have you done this?
I have 2 properties that are coming onto the market, and they will be available to rent, and I can't rent them. I'm no longer going to rent them out, and they're going to have to be sold, because it makes no business sense to rent them.
Why can't you rent them, Richard? Sorry, can you explain that to us?
Okay, I can't rent them because it makes no business sense. It makes no business sense because when you have a rent cap at 2% and you have inflation in my world now tipping at 20-25%, because landlords' costs are not the inflation for us is building materials and maintenance. It makes no business sense to be locked into a business plan where your product is priced where you can only increase it by 2%.
Sorry, Richard, hold on. Sorry, your house is built, right? So you're talking about maintenance costs. So this is the inflation you're talking about. Are you talking about the increase in interest rates, or are you locked into something like that? Because I just want to figure out how you can't make a profit. Like, I've got a landlord, and that landlord hasn't been in my house in 5 years. He hasn't done a thing.
Okay, well, look, I'm not talking about your landlord. I'm talking about me as a landlord. I've had dozens of tenants. Every single one of them has been excellent tenants. All of them have had their full deposit returned. I want to stay in the business being a landlord. I think I'm a really good landlord, but this business makes no sense. The future of the idea of staying in business where your comparative return goes down against your costs going up, it makes no sense. And I want to bring back the cause of this. The cause of this is precisely the policies that the government has pursued for the last 15 years. Everybody told them, if you bring in rent control, there will be less availability. Some landlords, have a business head on them. They're not going to continue in business that has no future. That's one reason why I don't want to put these properties on the rental market.
I asked Neasa about this because you can see, listen, a property owner, a renter, or a landlord, it's an investment business for them as well. So is it up to them to have to worry about this? Like, they have to try and make sure they can look after their own money. And when the government are maybe having U-turns and telling them they can't make their own decisions, like, you can kind of see both sides, can you?
I can see both sides, and I think we are starting to see homeless charities identify the fact that small-scale landlords are leaving the market, and that is a problem. And you are correct in saying that is a result of government policy over a number of decades. And this is more of it. This is more of relying on the private sector to do something that the state should be doing. But let's be realistic about this. Rents are some of the highest in the EU. There are some people in my constituency who are paying, more than 50% of their income to pay rent. And that is absolutely not fair. That's not sustainable.
What's that, Richard?
You're going to scare more landlords out of the market by bringing in the exact regulation that you're hoping to enforce, as in selling a landlord a property with a sitting tenant. That investment value that a landlord might have a mortgage on, if he bought it for 300 grand, it's only going to be worth 100 grand if he can only sell it with a sitting tenant with rent control. It's a dead business. It's a dead future. And I'm actually really concerned that if the government doesn't stand up and admit we've made a monumental mistake adopting rent control and all of the very pro-tenant legislation that seems on the surface a good idea, but all of the experts have said you're going to actually reduce the supply. It happened in the 70s in the UK. There was nothing to rent after that.
We don't have rent control.
Now, hold on. Can we just... We have, Richard, we have had rent pressure zones, and around the world, I know we live in a capitalist economy. There are places where they do work, where there are rent freezes, and that's what happened. But can we talk about what's going on here? We've got a private landlord there, Richard, who has got 2 places to rent, and he says, I can't rent them, it's not worth it, there's no...
He has 2 places that are vacant at the moment in the middle of a housing crisis.
What he's saying that's coming up.
No, but they're coming onto the market.
They're coming onto the market, yeah, as you mentioned, Richard. So that's one issue there. We also have a country here that's full of corporate landlords. I mean, we have it's corporate landlords absolutely everywhere.
These 2 properties will be bought by corporate landlords.
No, I understand.
Richard, it's not worth him staying in the market because it's not a worthwhile investment.
But that goes to the heart of it.
You don't have to pay the tax.
That goes to the heart of it because homes should not be an asset. And we shouldn't be inviting in large-scale corporate entities as an asset. The state should be providing homes. And there are schemes in other countries whereby when landlords, small-scale landlords, because so many of them are there and they didn't really mean to be landlords, they bought during the boom maybe. We do have accidental landlords. There are schemes throughout the EU whereby...
houses.
There
The country
are
is-
schemes throughout the EU whereby people are
properties every day.
Hold on, Richard, hold on.
where people want to remove themselves from the market. It's the state who buys those homes and that they can keep tenants in place. And that is something that we should be looking at. We should also be looking at incentivising landlords through tax incentives to give people security of tenure. At the moment, the security of tenure is 6 years and you can pretty much
Well, yeah,
evict
when
when
it's a
you want.
private landlord, they're paying up to 40% of what they're getting on the home in tax, and you've got a corporate landlord who's paying only 25%. It does seem like a fairly unfair system when the corporate is all for profit.
Corporate landlords are a tiny percentage of the landlords in this country. The majority of landlords are small, independent landlords that are the backbone of the renting industry in this country, and you're pushing all of them out. All of your policies are encouraging landlords.
I mean, listen,
Well, we know
I mean,
7,500 are leaving, but more and more corporate landlords are around the country when it comes to places.
You can see exactly, Richard, how heated you are over this. And if you say it is a lot less corporate landlords in the country, we want to hear from them this morning, 0896 111 111 on this, because this is something that obviously it's so divisive, because as you say, you're going to have people coming into your party office.
Well, you don't agree with the coalition leaders on
This does not represent green politics. This does not represent our party policy. This decision in no way represents what members are saying to me. And of course, I can't speak for all of them, but I don't see anything in this decision that reflects, you know, the part of the coalition that we make up.
You lost the party whip before in relation to the National Maternity Hospital. Are you getting towards breaking point with what's happening with your party?
Above my loyalty to a party, and I am a Green politician through and through, I believe in green politics, you know, in a kind of a global sense. I have a responsibility to my constituents, and I can't tell you how real the housing crisis is in Dublin Central. And, you know, what we were talking about here today is the fact that the small landlord, private, even the large corporate model of private housing provision for tenants doesn't work.
No.
It is broken,
work.
and this decision is more of the same. This is just the same rhetoric, the same status quo over and over again.
Listen, it's something we hear all the time. We know the housing policy is messed up in this country, and how they're going to fix it, I don't know. But listen, we've run out of time. So Neasa Hourigan, Green Party TD, thank you so much for coming in and giving us your opinion on that. And of course, Richard Quarry, a landlord, thank you so much for joining us as well this morning. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you at home on this.